Hi, how are you? It's Teknikolour. I am back with part 2 to last week's video, and this is the final 2 apartments in my Ring Them Bells playlist creations build. Let's check it out. In case you missed last week's video, I was invited to Pacific Creative's playlist creations building collaboration, and I decided for my song that I was going to be doing Liza Minnelli's Ring Them Bells. So last week's video was kind of setting up the entire build on the Fountain View penthouse lot here in San Myshuno. And today's video is really just going to be looking at the other 2 apartments. So if you want to see the 2 that are focused around my actual song choice, you'll definitely want to look at last week's video. But these 2, which not really related to the song in any way other than being in that same building, 5 Riverside Drive. These are kind of just meant to be 70s themed. And I took a lot of inspiration from my grandparents' apartments. And I just wanted to make something that looked like it could fit in with the time period, but I don't know, not quite look as if it was connected so much to the song. I wanted this to look like it was just, it could be any New York City apartment. So there are 2 apartments. The one that we are looking at right now is what I consider to be the older woman's apartment. So I'm thinking this is a woman who has lived here for forever. And she probably plays some games. Maybe she plays some cards with a friend of hers. She probably sits in that armchair or on the couch with a friend of hers maybe, or just by herself. She's watching TV. She's really just living out her final days, and she has a small kitchen. She's got a small bathroom, but she basically just spends the rest of this area, this apartment, between her living room and her bedroom with her loving cat. And that's kind of where I was going with this. I knew that I wanted there to be some nods to my own grandparents within this apartment specifically. And this apartment was really fun because my grandmother in her New York City apartment actually had, it was technically behind her couch or like love seat area. There was a wall of mirrors and it was kind of next to the windows. This is actually opposite the windows, so I figured it could give your sim a little bit more light if you're planning to play in here. Again, it's not really play tested. I don't really know how much of it will work. I know that there's a lot of clutter in the other 2 apartments, the ones that are focused on Shirley DeVore and Norm Saperstein from the song, but this will probably work more for any sim. I knew that I wanted it to look as if this sim had a little bit more dated style and a little bit more lived in. So like some of the carpet is a little dirtier. I don't know. I just wanted it to look lived in. And I don't normally do stuff like that with my builds. I try to make something that is very cute, something new. I've weirdly been like gravitating towards more modern styles lately, and I've been going towards builds that just look kind of like fresh and clean, maybe with some clutter and look like they have some lived in feel to them. But with these, I tried to make it look very lived in for all of these apartments. And this one was just cozy. I think it's the best way to explain it. I knew that I wanted it to belong to an older person, and maybe she lived here with her husband and she had this apartment for like a really long time, but like this has been her home for like ages. Like she's lived here a while. I just knew that I wanted it to be kind of like a cozy older person's apartment in the 70s. So it wasn't gonna be like They weren't gonna have a computer. They had like a smaller TV set. Basically, I just went ham with the Basement Treasures TV. But with this apartment, I knew that I wanted the kitchen to look a little more lived in. So there's like that torn up linoleum. We have like the horse ranch cabinets. I just wanted it to feel not necessarily rustic, but dated, at least by today's standards. It might not have been at the time, but I just wanted it to feel, I don't know, what I would have expected it to look like as a kid. So I wanted it to be, I don't know, a smaller apartment. I wanted it to be not quite as chic as you might expect for this building, because this building probably has like a lot of, I don't know, more modern apartments. They've got people who have a lot of money who are like really seeking to live here. And this woman has lived here like a long time. So her taste might not match some of the newer tenants, you know. So that's basically where I was going with this apartment. And I wanted to make it look similar to my grandparents' apartments. And I think I did a really good job with that. Like, for instance, I believe it's from the Modern Luxe kit. There is the floor tiles that are like ceiling tiles mainly. And I think it's like a brown swatch. And I made it kind of look like a tin ceiling, which is what my grandfather had in his kitchen. And I think maybe his bathroom, I'm not entirely sure. It might have also been in the hallway. And I kind of did that here. I don't really remember exactly what my grandfather's kitchen looked like other than that, and maybe like one wall. I think it had wood paneling. I probably could have asked my dad before I started building this. But again, I wasn't doing like a recreation of that. I just wanted to take little nods and make it something that felt 70s to me. Again, I hope that this whole build reads as 70s to everyone. And again, I don't know that Ring Them Bells is necessarily supposed to be taking place in the 70s, but I think she released the song in the 70s, or like first performed it in the 70s. So that's kind of how I was dictating this whole build. And I actually don't know how true the song is. She says in the beginning that it's an absolutely true story and an absolutely true song. But there's, as far as I could tell, there was no 29th floor at 5 Riverside Drive. So I'm not entirely sure how true the song is. Maybe it's just something that everybody understood and I didn't. But I love the song. When Pacific Creative had invited me to this build collaboration, I was like honored, because they're, I don't know, getting invited to anyone's build collaboration is like a huge deal, I think. And I would love to host my own someday. But I was like, I don't know what song to choose, because I love music a lot. And my parents, I feel like I spent a lot of time learning music. Not necessarily like how to play music or read music. I did learn how to play piano when I was younger, which I didn't love at the time, and I probably should have spent more time practicing. But I really, really loved how my parents introduced my brother and I to music. So I don't know, for instance, like with my mom, if we were in the car and we were like picking up my brother from school or something, my mom would be playing music and kind of like quizzing me, but like not really, and just being like, what genre is this? Or like, who do you think is singing? Like stuff like that. And like, she'd make like it easier for a kid, obviously. But it was really nice getting to learn different genres of music. And I think those moments with my mom are why I love certain albums or artists. Like Motown, I really like because of those moments with my mom, because I feel like that is where I probably spent the most time listening to Motown music. And I don't really know why. Maybe my mom was just like in a mood for a specific genre, or maybe that's just what popped up on the radio and I'm attributing it to being like longer than just like one song. I don't know, but I really appreciate that my parents spent the time trying to incorporate music into mine and my brother's lives, because I feel like it's so important, and I don't think many people think of it that way. I also feel like it's important to not necessarily stay current with music, but to not let yourself become like dated with music. So if they're like, you don't have to love all music. I don't think anyone has to love all music, but I feel like if there are like hits on the radio and it's not necessarily like what you would be listening to, why is that? You know? And I think that's more of a question for you. I think it's more like, why is this something that you're not enjoying and other people are enjoying? Which doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, but I think it's a good conversation to have with yourself, to be like, I wonder why this style of music or this artist is really resonating with people right now, and just learn from that. Do you know what I mean? Because again, it doesn't have to be the type of music that you like or the type of music that you listen to, but it's still saying something about like the culture of where you're living and the impact of that musician or that genre on that time period. And I don't know, I think it's just interesting. It's similar to like learning languages and stuff like that. It just has an impact on the world that I think a lot of people don't spend as much time thinking about, and I think is more important than you probably would expect. But yeah, this build, I think I had the time of my life working on, and I knew that I was gonna have a lot of fun once I finished Shirley DeVore and Norm Saperstein's apartments. I knew that once I finished those two, I could really just go crazy and build whatever I wanted. Like, I knew that I wanted one of the apartments to be an older woman's apartment. I knew that that's what I wanted. And I think it was because my grandfather, he had more of like a townhome, and my grandmother had like an actual apartment. So I wanted that. Like, that was kind of what dictated that there, I believe. But my second apartment, I knew was going to be 2 bedrooms, and I was like, I don't really know what to do with it. So originally it was going to be like maybe a family with a younger kid. So like the second bedroom was going to be a kid's room. But then I decided that I actually wanted it to be like, maybe this is a couple who they have their own bedroom, but they also live with somebody else. It could be somebody that they're related to. Like maybe it's like somebody's like brother or sister, or maybe it is like a friend or just like a roommate. And that was kind of what dictated this. And to me, I think of them all as having a good sort of relationship with each other. So I don't know why, but I decided that there was going to be music in these 2 builds, or not these 2 builds. I guess it, when I say 2 builds, I mean the Norm Saperstein apartment and the Shirley DeVore apartment, which are like connected to the song, versus these 2 apartments that are really not. And Norm, I had kind of like as a violinist, and this one as a pianist. So this person plays piano, and they have like a record player. They have like a whole area like dedicated to that. So I wanted this whole lot to have music incorporated, especially because like 70s music was like really good, I thought. And I was listening to 70s music the entire time that I was building this. So I knew that I wanted there to be like a lounge space for this apartment. And then once I knew that it was going to be for like 3 or 2 adults, and it was not going to be like a family, I knew that I had to make it look as if maybe they had just gotten back from the grocery store. They just picked up some things. The other roommate is maybe cooking, and maybe they're gonna make pasta or something, because we have like the big can of like tomatoes from the Home Chef Hustle pack. I knew that I wanted it to look very lively in here, and I knew that I wanted to have a sort of story. So I knew that one of them was going to be musician, and the other one I decided, so like that front bedroom, I wanted them to be like a lawyer or something. And I think that was really just because when I was looking through artwork and different decor to use that I don't normally use, I found some art that I was like, I feel like this could fit in somebody who is a lawyer, or maybe like judicial in some way. Maybe that's like a police officer, or maybe that's like, I don't know, anyone who is not, I guess, in a creative field, which is probably what I gravitate towards mostly, come to think of it, because I'm in a creative field, or I was before I started streaming. I used to be a graphic designer. I'd still love to be a graphic designer, but I haven't been able to find a job just yet. But I knew that I wanted there to be like this cozy little seating area. I knew that I wanted like the TV set to be sort of like angled off, kind of like they rolled the TV in, or they like roll it out of place whenever they're not using it. I just felt like I needed it to meld maybe 3 personalities together. So like there's maybe like the couple who have like the larger bedroom, and then there's the smaller bedroom where it's like the other friend. But I wanted this space to look like it represented all of them. And I feel like I did a pretty good job of that. I'm actually really proud of the smaller bedroom because I feel like there's less going on in it, but it feels more in line with what I was expecting that sim to live like, if that makes sense. Like I wanted it to be kind of boho, if that makes sense. I have no idea if that's even like related to 70s style at all, but I just wanted something that felt more comfy and more in, I don't know, contrast to what their career would be, which I had as like a lawyer or something. So I wanted it to be much more laid back, much more comfy. And the musician, I wanted it to be like, there's no music really in their bedroom, but I wanted there to be areas where maybe one of them takes phone calls, like, and is like calling home or calling their friends, and there's like a little reading nook or whatever. I just wanted it to feel different, I guess, from what I normally build. And it probably has helped that lately. The last couple of builds that I have done were either like big New York City apartments and more modern feeling, and then mansions. So right now, my legacy save, I am doing an Around the World's Legacy Challenge, which I created, and I am moving my sim from San Myshuno. So my sim, Jet Wyndham, his mother was our arts critic sim. She was our city living sim, and she spent her time between 3 apartments in San Myshuno over her legacy. And then now we are moving on to Jet into Del Sol Valley, and he is going to be an actor, and he's gonna live in a mansion. He's gonna live in a mansion. And I do this thing where I have like the ability to bring in members of my Twitch community. So they'll create like a sim self of them. So like a version of themselves in The Sims. And then I will build a house and like rooms specifically for that person. But they'll also get invited to events and like hang out with my sim. So for instance, like when my sim gets married, like those people who are like in my save that are like real community members, their sims will be invited to the wedding or to family events, stuff like that. This time, because there's a bit more people, and people were very generous this last donathon, which is when I usually hold the time for people to create themselves, I'm making 2 other mansions in addition to my own. My sim is living in one of the mansions in the hills of Del Sol Valley. And then I think there's 3 others that are going to be living in the other similarly sized lot, which I don't even remember how big it is at this point. And then there's like the 64 by 64 that I think is the largest lot in the hills of Del Sol Valley. And that one is going to have everybody else. But I'm hoping that I can make it an area where I can introduce a lot of activities and stuff. So maybe we can do like a movie theater in there. We can all like go see a movie or something. Or there's going to be like a really big game room, like stuff like that. So my Sims will have more of a reason to go to that lot to do certain things. Or maybe like we'll host birthday parties there. Like maybe there'll be like an event space, like that sort of thing. Instead of it just always being at my Sims house, which is like where we'll spend the majority of our time anyway. But yeah, that's basically what's going on in my legacy. So I am like being very maximalist kind of in all of my builds lately, because they're all either like big, rich apartments, like a penthouse, or we're doing mansions. So it was very, it was very refreshing to get back to something that is smaller, even if it is an apartment. We've done a bunch of San Myshuno apartments in the past on this YouTube channel. A lot of them were for my legacy challenge, because again, Gemma Wyndham, she lived in 3 different apartments. And I also decided at one point to design one for her elderly neighbor, who I think passed away like, like 3 days after I built that apartment. But yeah, I don't know. I had so much fun with this one. I wanted it to look very 70s. I wanted it to look as if it was very lived in, and I wanted it to be very different from what my own build style usually looks like. And I think I accomplished that. For those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, what do you think? Is this unexpected for me? Like, how did you like these 2 apartments? I think I really did like these 2. I did a lot of funky things too. Like for instance, I used some of the basement treasures items. So like there's the broken, I think they're sort of broken, those 2 lamps. There's one that is a table lamp and there's one that's a floor lamp. And I think they flicker in build mode, but I think they flicker in live mode, but I was just going to be in build mode. So I knew it didn't really matter for this build, but I basically gave them separate bases. And for the table lamp that is like the lampshade's a little crooked, I actually like tilted it back into place with tool with the tool mod. And I don't know, it was just really fun to do things like that. I also made like a shelf that had like a little ledge for like tilting a frame onto it, so you wouldn't have to like hang a huge frame up. You would just hang up the shelf that it would like sit on. And that was really fun to work on. It was just, this was a really, really, really fun build to work on. And it might not come across that way. It might just come across like, oh, this was just like for a build collaboration. And it just had to sort of be related to a specific song. Obviously, like those 2 apartments were like very related, but these 2, not so much. But no, I just had like the time of my life working on this. It was a really, really fun build. And I don't even know what my next non-legacy save build is going to be. I feel like I've slowly caught up on all of the builds that I have needed to get done. So now I'm going to be able to build kind of whatever I want. Not that this was like not what I wanted, but now I can just, I don't know, open up my mind and do whatever. And I haven't needed to do that in a really long time. I have had like specific ideas about what I was going to be building for a lot of recent builds. And now I don't know what to do, especially because after I have finished these 3 mansions for my legacy save, there's no reason to continue building in Del Sol Valley specifically for the legacy. Like I might make some of the other lots in Del Sol Valley into something that maybe my sim will use. Maybe it'll be a restaurant, maybe it'll be whatever. But for the most part, like I could build wherever. Like if I just want to build in Copperdale, I could just build in Copperdale and just do that for a speed build. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do after this. What do I do? Is there anything y'all want to see? I don't know. I don't know. Also, oh my God, I forgot. I don't remember if I did an update about my my kooky downstairs neighbor in last week's video, but there's been an update. So we ended up getting a Ring doorbell. So that's like a video doorbell. So like if somebody like knocks on your door or rings your doorbell or like moves in the hallway and it's like near the Ring camera, it'll like alert you, or it'll like just like do like a snippet recording. And usually it's just like people like walking past our door. I think we ordered like from a restaurant like once since we've gotten it, but like that'll show up, like, so you'll be able to hear that. But like we also haven't had a doorbell in a really long time, so like I feel like most of the people that we get deliveries from will just knock on our door anyway, because we just order from the same places. But our downstairs neighbor pounded on our door again last night. And again, so I live here with my boyfriend. I've lived here for a lot of years now, and this person just moved in, and we didn't even know that they moved in. Like we can't hear them, but they insist that we can hear their TV and we think it's on too loud. So we're like banging on the floor or something. And originally they were sort of friendly, and they had said that they were just like nervous because this is what had happened at their last apartment. The person above them was constantly like retaliating against them for making any sort of noise and like banging on their floor or whatever. And we were like, well, if you want to like put your TV up and like come up, I don't think you'll be able to hear it because we didn't even know you moved in. And they just don't believe us. So I think there's like some other things at play there. I don't know. But we figured we would cover ourselves with a video camera because it just makes us feel more comfortable, because we also had some scary neighbors here in the past. I'll leave it at that. So having this as like a sort of, okay, like we're safe. Like this is fine. We don't have to worry about things. I don't know. So I'm hoping that this issue with the neighbor goes away, but they literally were banging on our door last night, and they're also insisting that it's my boyfriend and not me, which doesn't really make any sense because like it's a 1-bedroom. So like, why wouldn't we both feel the same way? Or even if like even if we were annoyed with them making noise, which we're not because we can't hear them, why would we continuously like open the door and have like a chat with them? I don't like, why would we deny it like this often? Like they've been knocking on our door like a lot. But I think going forward, we're not answering the door anymore. So in stark contrast to what Liza Minnelli says in Ring Them Bells, we will not be opening up our doors, hurrying out in the hall, and ringing them bells, because we don't really want to deal with the neighbor anymore. Oh my God. Well, I say that we head back into the game because we are near the end of this speed build, and let us show you around those 2 apartments. So here we are in San Myshuno on the Fountain View penthouse lot, and this is the other half of last week's build. So you can see out here we have the older woman's balcony, and she's got a little space that she can sit, she can have a drink, she could people watch, maybe she plays cards with a friend here or something. And then over here they have a much bigger balcony because it is a much larger apartment. They have 2 bikes, they've got a little seating area, they have chess, they have a little telescope, and they have a lot of plants. Again, you could see the lights in the hall. And then over here in the older woman's apartment, we have her kitchen, we have her little hallway, and we have her bathroom. I actually had a lot of fun, like adding all of this and just making this look how I wanted. So I hope this came across in the speed build. Here is her little living room. She's got the new Grim Reaper gramophone. And yeah, this is kind of just like her space. Then in here, we have her bedroom. She's got her little reading area. We've got her little area for the cat. Over here is the apartment for the 2 or 3 people, I guess. They picked up some groceries. They're making dinner. This is that cute little living space. I really love the way that this came out. It feels very smaller apartment that is like weirdly shaped, that you have to figure out how to put all your furniture in one spot and make it still look lived in. Here is a little dining space, and then there's access to the balconies, the piano. I love over here that there's all the spices up here. Here is the bathroom for everyone. And then of course, over here is the primary bedroom. And then of course they have their little bathroom over here. And then this is the smaller bedroom. And I just love this one. I don't know what it was. This one just felt right to me when I was building it. And like, sometimes I'm like, ooh, the walls are too bare. Like I should have done more, but it just felt like, no, it's done. Like, this is perfect. This is how this person lives. It's kind of minimal. It's very cozy. And that's basically the 2 apartments. Again, if you would like to see these 2 apartments over here, you will have to watch last week's video to see exactly how to ring them bells. But that's it for this video. I will catch you in the next video. And if you'd like to see more Sims building but live, be sure to visit my Twitch channel because we're building a lot right now. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.